All right. So we're live. All right. So, hey, I call this meeting to order at 7:03 p.m. Hope everyone got a chance to review the agenda. And so, if are there any changes or subtractions to the agenda? Daniela.
Can we strike ASRF and AAC travel mini grant allocations? Thank you.
Juan.
Please strike SFS allocations, please.
Alicia.
Can you please strike ARC allocations?
Devon.
Can you strike bag for me, please?
Josh.
Can we please start capital contingency programming, please?
Anna.
Hi, could I strike SWC programming fund? Thank you.
Phoebe.
Please strike TGIF allocations.
All right. Anyone else? Okay. I would like to add a discussion topic under new business regarding let me make sure I get this correct. Yeah, regarding the murder of Masa Amini. So yeah, I like that as a discussion topic for new business. And if there are any, Phoebe, I see you have your hand still up. Is that a new hand or?
Old hand, sorry about that.
Okay, no problem. All right. If there's no more changes or anything like that, can we get a motion?
I move to approve the agenda for this week.
Can we get a second? Okay, so Phoebe motions, Teddy seconds. All in favor, please raise your hand. All right, I see. Okay, so I mean, I guess all abstaining, please raise your hand. All against, please raise your hand. Okay, one person didn't vote at all. So we'll just say by a vote of 10 to 0. The motion is approved and the agenda is approved for this week's meeting. Next is the approval of the minutes. Hope everyone got to review last week's minutes. Are there any changes or clarifications anyone wants to make to last week's minutes? Going once, going twice. If not, can we get a motion?
I move to approve last council meeting minutes.
Okay. Can we get a second?
I second.
Okay, Devon motions, Daniela seconds. All in favor, please raise your hand. All right. And by a vote of 12 to 0, the motion is approved and the minutes from last week's meeting are approved. All right, now we're going straight into public comment. Public comment is a time for individuals from the Bruin community to come and express any questions, comments, or concerns that they have to council. So if you want to be promoted, please raise your hand so that we can promote you. And I see Clara has her hand raised. She just got promoted. The floor is yours.
Sorry, I'm assuming it's me, right? Okay, awesome. Hi guys, I'm Clara, the Caltech chapter chair from UCLA, and I'm just here to update you guys on what we're doing so far. So as a reminder, CalPERS Students is the activist group that works to empower students to create change even before you graduate. We have chapters at all the UC campuses, and we work on issues like the environment, youth voting, basic needs, and public health. So an update, right now we're doing our recruitment drive to get lots of students involved with us this quarter. And so far, we have over 700 students interested in getting involved. And we're also scheduled to do announcements in 120 classes these first 2 weeks of school. And we've done 2 big petition tables so far, including one that was today for our affordable textbooks campaign, which was really successful. We collected over 200 petition signatures. And all of this work is towards our kickoff meeting next week, where we'll officially launch all of our campaigns with our biggest meeting of the quarter with 100 students. And as a reminder, this quarter we're going to be working on 3 campaigns. The first is our plastic campaign that has the goal of banning polystyrene or styrofoam in Los Angeles by the end of the quarter. And we're also going to be working on a basic needs campaign, including hunger and homelessness on campus. And we're also making a lot of progress towards our goal of getting open textbooks on at the UC campuses, which would make textbooks free. And then finally, our New Voters Project is working with the EVP office as Bruins vote to get out the vote work, voter registration, things like that. So we have a lot of exciting stuff coming up this quarter, and we're planning on collaborating with USAC in various ways. So feel free to reach out to me if you have any questions in interim, and I hope you guys have a good rest of your meeting. I'll put my email in the chat now.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Glad to always see you. All right. Do we have anyone else that wants to be promoted to give public comment? Okay, if not, I will be closing public comment at 7:09. All right, moving forward. I see contingency programming kind of has a line starting to go through it. Is that a mistake?
Yeah, accidentally, like, I didn't know how to work this thing, so it will be there, yeah.
Okay. Wait, so Josh, do you have something for contingency programming?
Yes, sorry, I believe that was a mistake. So no capital contingency. I think that was supposed to be struck on the agenda. So would you like me to start with contingency programming?
Yes.
Okay, great. So for this week, we had a total amount requested for 24 non-USAC related events of $20,708. This week, there was a couple different groups who requested a lot of money that actually didn't fit within the scope of the contingency programming fund. So the adjusted, total amount that we could possibly fund was actually $15,484. And of that, we recommend an allocation of $11,055. I'll put that into the chat and happy to expand on that if need be as well.
Okay, awesome. Thank you so much. Does any council members have any questions?
I do, really quickly. Are you allowed to disclose what the event was or who is hosting it?
Yeah, so for there's actually a couple groups. A lot of it was related to size and timing. So there's a couple groups who applied for an event that was less than a week away. And we have a strict deadline of 3 weeks to be able to process the funds, get reimbursements, and send that out. So they were just, and I've been in conversations with all the student groups, but they essentially, it was related to timing of it. They are all on the allocation sheet, the council sheet, which I did email, and I believe is also in the agenda folder for this week. If anyone wants to go in and see the exact groups, they just have a strike through for them, but most of it was related to timing of events.
All right, awesome. Okay, if no one has any other questions, can we get a motion? Anyone?
I move to approve contingency funding for the 9/27 meeting.
I second.
All right, Sarah motions, 1 second. All in favor, please raise your hand. Okay. Okay. All right, all abstaining, please raise your hand. And all against, please raise your hand. Okay, so 11 out of 13 people voted. So okay, by a vote of 11 to 0, the motion is approved and contingency programming is approved for this week. Okay, moving forward, we're going straight into appointments. So first up, we have the Committee on International Education. First off, I just want to give a rundown on how, appointments go. So obviously, the first thing that will happen is the individuals who are up for a position will give their opening statement. We'll then open the floor up for council members to ask them questions. Once we get about 2 to 3 questions, 3 to 4 questions, we'll close. We'll stop the questioning. They'll give their closing statement, and then there'll be a discussion amongst council members. After we receive ARC's recommendation, which is the Appointments Review Committee's recommendation. Following that, we'll do a vote and we'll move forward. Theodore, I see you have a hand up. Is that new?
Yeah, my Zoom totally crashed on that last vote about the contingency. Can you put me down for as for yay on record?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. All right, so first up for the Committee on International Education, we have Bakir. Have they been promoted? Okay, I see. Okay, see. Before you begin, I was going to ask council members if you can please, turn your cameras on. We got some. We got appointments here who. They've probably spent a couple hours getting ready for this, so we want to show them some respect. All right, so please turn your camera on if you can. If you can't, I understand, but if you can, please turn it on. All right, so the floor is yours, Bakir.
Hi. Okay, so I believe I do have about a minute to go. So first, it's nice to be back, like even momentarily on council, on a council meeting, I guess. And nice to meet some of you again, and some of you like this is the first time. And so yes, an introduction. So my name is Bakr Medini. I'm a senior studying both math of computation and political science. I'm an international student, obviously, and I'm originally from Saudi Arabia. And I served as the international student representative back in 2019, and yes, 2019, 2020, and have been serving on as the International Student Affairs Officer for UCSA since last year. And also serving on the Committee on International Education for the past 2 years as well. So yeah, nice to meet you all. And if you have any questions.
Okay, awesome. All right, now we'll open the floor for questioning. Theodore?
Yeah, I just want to ask, like, what about your experience as an international student, or your first-hand experience as an international at UCLA, do you feel really makes you stand out as a potential leader on campus within this role?
Yes. So there are 2 points in that regard. The first one is that being a senior, going through before COVID and kind of post-COVID, not completely post-COVID. So having those different perspectives and going through the different years at UCLA and dealing with different issues, because at each time or at each stage, when you're coming on campus and when you're like then later on when you're studying and so on, like there are different challenges. So having gone through those different stages and different years gives me a good perspective of the possible different challenges. Now, the most important part, I guess, is that serving in different capacities related to international students and also related to like my own community, like Saudi students, So I have interacted with different student leaders, both international student leaders and student leaders outside of that circle. So I have been able to create some kind of perspective and connections throughout the campus in that regard. And obviously, some of those people graduated, but still the same idea exists. Like one person cannot represent everyone, even if I'm from that community. So as an international student, like I can't represent all international students. Even as a Saudi, I can't represent all Saudi students. So reaching out and having that connection with different student leaders and students and organizations is essential for the role. And also in context of USAC, also being connected with different council members, including, and obviously most related to this role, the international student representative.
Phoebe?
Yeah, I wanted to ask, I guess just like what guides your passion and commitment to this role to do it for a third year?
Yes. So going into student government in general, the reason was actually back in beginning of 2020, when campus went online. So I was already involved in a bit in council in one of the offices, just doing some budget analysis. I enjoyed doing data and stuff like that. But what actually got me into student government in general was that council meeting. It lasted until 2 a.m. or something. I don't remember how long, but it lasted for a long while. And basically how the decision about going online was made with nearly no consultation with students, and the many worries that we had as students in general, as international students, because we also have immigration requirements and so on. So, and then how the university handled COVID, and especially in the early periods of that. All of this contributed to me wanting to have to help avoid those things from happening again. And I genuinely believe that student representation and student voice is important. So that's in general. Now for this committee, it's the interesting thing about this committee, and I guess this also applies to different academic senate committees as well, is that it combines both administrative staff director of DASHU and representative from faculty, and administrative representatives from the International Institute, and also you have faculty from different departments, and obviously students, both grad and undergrad. So having this space where you can discuss the different issues facing international scholars from those different perspectives, and being able to mobilize support for certain topics, and I would say fast-paced. You've been on council for some time, so you would understand things don't move that fast, generally speaking. But when you have everyone in the same room, it's easier to move things along and support initiatives. One thing we did in less than 2 weeks was providing funding from the committee providing support for funding going from USAC surplus into ACRT for grants for international students. If we didn't have that, if this committee did not exist and we didn't have those different representatives and administrators in one place, it would have taken at least a month or two for the communication only to happen, and then subsequently go through the surplus allocation process in USAC. So that's one of the things I love about this committee.
Thank you. Sarah?
Hi. Yes, I agree with Phoebe. I really liked your answer. First, thank you so much for coming to speak with us. I don't know, this is sort of an aside. I don't know if you remember my brother. He was on council. He says hello.
I saw the last name. I was like, okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then my question was, one, what are just some of the goals that you hope to implement in this position next year or this upcoming year? And part of your role also is just working with admin. So you sort of touched on it, but how do you plan on working with admin to best represent international students?
Yes. So I will start answering the second question because it's easier to tackle. So one of the things about the Committee on International Education is like relatively, I would say, a student-friendly committee. If you like, some of you might have served on different committees, including academic senate committees, or like know people who served in those committees. They're not necessarily always that student-friendly, unfortunately speaking. But this one is one of the friendliest ones. But I would say always communicating with the chair of the committee and the analysts for the committee is essential to one, direct the discussions, even if there is no agenda item on the committee. Like the chair has a lot of sway, and also the attitude when they do understand what's happening and what's the different perspectives. It really shapes how the committee is run. And obviously, if there's a need for an agenda item, definitely they would help, like the analysts, the committee analysts especially would help into facilitating that. Obviously, and I've done that in the past year when like, because of the first year I was serving both as the ISR and the rep on the committee, but for the year after, I wasn't the ISR. So communicating with the ISR if they have agenda items, because like again, one person cannot do all of the job or like represent everyone, and I guess the ISR is better positioned to in terms of like getting input from the different goals and the different problems that international students are facing, which leads a bit to and obviously communicating with different admins there. I think Sam, the director of DashU, I've worked with him like for the past 3 years, so I think we do have a good working relation, and different admins. This kind of leads to the answer for the first question, which is I do have certain goals in mind, but obviously I think a lot of the way that this committee have been like going is that you cannot anticipate problems or things happening beforehand in most cases, and the past 2 years have been like quite eventful and unfortunately. So the way that usually is that we would like gather input from whether like our own communities, from the ISR, from different student representatives and USAC and other academic senate committees and so on, UCSA, and then like whenever there's something relevant, would bring it to the committee, obviously after having discussions with other stakeholders. So that's generally, I feel that how things would go even this year. Obviously, there are certain overarching themes that I believe would be important to press on. One is enrollment caps on non-residents and international students specifically. That's a UC-wide issue, but also like I think there's some room because like UCLA is one of the 3 most campuses affected by that policy. The second one is that while we still haven't really, we are in this awkward situation where we still haven't really like covered completely from COVID, but also like I think we've come a long way since the beginning of 2020. So making sure that we don't like overlook some of our community members, for example, who might face visa issues or still have certain limitations related to COVID of like coming back to campus, but also providing support for current students who would need to, who would like require some kind of support to be integrated into campus. Although like it's been a year since we've come nearly like mostly in person, but we still like relatively speaking, sophomores and juniors and even seniors had less chance of being on campus, and definitely that has an effect. Many of the services, many of the events that used to happen before COVID as simple as like when we had the visa check-in, we'd get like different like we'd get hoodies and stuff like that from Dacia, which made it easier to actually recognize international students. But like those simple things and more sophisticated ones, I guess, in terms of support systems, have not yet came back completely after COVID. So
I'm sorry,
working with
Jay,
the
but
lines,
got
well,
2 minutes left, okay?
I'm done. I'm done with my answer.
Oh, okay, my bad, okay. All right, awesome. Thank you so much. Hey, I love it. You's killing it now. I just had to.
It's okay. I understand you have a tight deadline, a timeline.
Appreciate you. All right. Okay, so now we're on your closing statement, correct?
I think I think so. I thank you again for this opportunity. It's and if you choose that I serve in this committee, it would be an honor. And again, I believe in the importance of student voice, and it's how we should like the institution is in the end centered around students, and that should be like always the case. And we should ensure, even though like it is like logical, but still sometimes it is easily overlooked that students are at the center of any university. And thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you for coming. All right. So now we'll close now we'll open up with the ARC's recommendations.
Hi, sorry, I'm in a really, really noisy place right now. But AFC achieved the curve with a 3-0 vote, if you can hear that.
Okay. Thank you. All right. Now, does anyone have any questions, comments, or concerns? Devon?
Really quickly, as someone who worked closely with Bakur and knows him professionally and personally, I cannot speak highly enough about him and his dedication to international students and the USAC campus as a whole. As you've heard from his answers tonight, he's beyond dedicated, and I am very, very, very confident he would do an amazing job on the committee, and just want to give all my praise to and pre-congratulations to you, Bakur.
Awesome. Anyone else? All right. Yeah, I just want to say, hey, I've never really worked with Bakir, but I've only heard great things. And definitely, you had like a lot of influence on USAC and just student government last year. So just want to thank you for that. And I think you'll do great in this role as well. Okay. Without further ado, can we get a motion?
I move to approve Bakur for the Committee on International Education.
I second.
Okay. Sarah motions, 1 second. All in favor, please raise your hand.
Can we promote Eliana?
All right, we got 13 votes out of 14. All abstaining, please raise your hand. All against, please raise your hand. Okay, we just got one person that's not voting. All right, by a vote of 13-0, the motion is approved, and Bakur is now on the Committee on International Education. Congratulations. Thank you for coming. All right, moving forward, we have the Campus Programs Committee. I see we have promoted Kylie Kim. You are free to give your opening statement.
Hello, everyone. My name is Kylie, and I am a 4th year this year. I'm majoring in molecular bio and minoring in accounting. And I've served on CPC for the past 2 years. The last year as chair, and I love the organization. I think it does some great work, and I would love to be able to continue to serve on it this year and to continue to be able to see what all these student organizations are doing.
Awesome, thank you. All right, now we'll open the floor for questions. We have one.
Hi, Kylie. Thank you so much for joining us today. So since you mentioned you have experience being chair of CPC last year, how has that informed kind of like your plans and how you see yourself in this role for the next year if you were to be appointed?
Great question. I think last year was definitely a different kind of year for CPC, just with school returning partially in person, partially hybrid, which was interesting. But I think that in the end, we were able to hear everyone, we were able to host hearings. Moving forward this year, I think it would be great if we could have an option for organizations to conduct their hearings in person. I think that we had a couple issues last year with accountability, both from our end in CPC as well as from the organization's end. So I think that having the option to be in person may be able to increase that accountability, but also while having an online option just for potentially organizations that maybe they are unable to come in or like safety concerns. So I think that would be one thing I'd really like to return to and go back to this year. Another thing is I'd like to increase the outreach of CPC. We had a lot of returning organizations, which is great because they host fabulous events, but it'd be great to see some new organizations we've never seen before, possibly from like underserved communities or even like more outreach programs for youth programs, which we really love to see. So those are two things I would love to see happen at CPC this year.
Naomi.
Sorry it's loud where I'm at, but hey again, I was in the interview, but I remember you mentioning accountability there as well. Besides like possibly having the in-person hearings, do you have any other plans to increase accountability within CPC?
Great question. Some of the feedback we got last year was that a lot of members wish that we could tell them a little bit further in advance, which sometimes is not possible just with the structure of how CPC works. But moving forwards, just to try to implement something where at least like 1 to 2 weeks in advance, we can say, hey, please keep your Thursdays from like 8 to 10 free because we have 6 hearings that time, just to give a little bit more head time because I do understand that it's very difficult to meet sometimes at last minute, as well as just to have a potentially enforcing a stricter like strike policy, just of, hey, if you don't show up like 2 times after you originally signed up for this hearing time, like we're going to have to meet with advisors, potentially meet with more with like the PAB and just try to figure out what's happening. So how can we help you to make these times better? And then how can you as well potentially just be able to meet these hearing times?
Eliana.
Thanks, Carl. So I loved what you were saying about outreach. I think that's a great idea. And I loved your application in general. Just we'd love to hear some more, like what are some of the plans you have in terms of outreach and for this year?
Definitely a great question. A couple of the ideas I had were just to, I know that there's a lot of large like kind of broadcast either listservs or definitely like overlapping organizations that like send out a lot of information to organizations like that fall under an umbrella. So to be able to get into contact with them and say, hey, here's a little, like maybe make a little graphic about CPC and say, okay, if you're having a cultural or educational event, like please apply to us. Here's the process, here's the links, making it very easy to reach that application, potentially have the chair, vice chair, or any members information there. So if they have further questions, like it's really easy to reach out because I know the application sometimes can be a little bit confusing. We also have a great like CPC mini program, which is just for smaller events, which I think is perfect a lot of times too. Like you don't need thousands of dollars, but rather maybe like a couple hundred for supplies or like transportation. So I think that would be a great way, as well as just I think word of mouth is really, really important. Just I had some friends last year in different organizations who said, man, we really need funding for, like, I think they were hosting a high school outreach event. It's like, oh, you know what, apply to CPC. And that's just one member. So like all the members like reached out to 2 or 3 people they knew from organizations all across campus. I think that'd be a great way to increase awareness about the CPC fund.
Sounds awesome. Thank you so much. And also feel free to message like the USAC people and we can share stuff on our Instagram or stuff. Anyhow, great plans. Love to see it.
It's a great idea. Thank you.
Pleasure.
All right. Does anyone else have any other questions? If not, you're free to give your closing statement.
Well, thank you so much for having me, and thank you so much for hosting these appointments. I know that it's late, but I'd really enjoy the chance to be on CPC once again. I think it's a great organization. I think it helps a lot of organizations moving forward for this upcoming year. I think there's some changes we can implement to make it both better for the advisors on the board, as well as committee members and the organizations that we are serving. So I hope to be a part of the process to make this committee better. And thank you all very much for your time.
Thank you. Thank you so much for coming. Okay, we'll get straight into it. Art, can we hear your recommendation?
Yeah, so I approved Kylie with the 3 to 0 to 0 vote. If you can hear me, sorry, it's so loud.
You're good. I can hear you. All right. Does anyone have any questions, comments, or concerns that they like to discuss? Okay. See, Phoebe said Kylie is great, a true bestie. But she's not in fact, that's the downside. Wow. All right, anyone else? All right, if not, can we get a motion?
I move to approve Kylie Kim for the Campus Programs Committee.
I second.
All right, yeah, Eliana motions, Phoebe seconds, all in favor, please raise your hand. Okay, we have all right, by a vote of 13 to 0, okay, 14 to 0 to 0, the motion passes and Kylie is now a part of the Campus Programs Committee. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, next up we have Elizabeth. I see they have already been promoted. You are free to give your opening statement.
Hi, everyone. Sorry, my Wi-Fi cuts out. My Wi-Fi is actually like awful in this building. But hi, everyone. My name's Elizabeth. I'm a 4th year psychobiology major, hopefully fingers crossed, global health minor. And I'm applying to CPC. This would be my 3rd year as well. So I've worked 2 years with Kylie on this committee. I really love what CPC stands for because they specifically fund cultural and educational based programs. And those are 2 programs that I really want to support at UCLA, given the fact that like, I feel like that's where I made my home community, both like in the culturally based orgs. So that's where I found most of my friends, then educational based programs, professional development, and make sure that you're supported both while you're still at UCLA and in the long term. And I would love to be able to continue to like support student orgs putting on these programs because they're so like important to have. And it really does help build community now that like we're kind of fully back in person for the most part. So I want students to also feel like they have that support and make those long lasting friendships while also like having professional development available to them.
Awesome, thank you so much. I'm glad to see you. All right, now we'll open the floor for questions. Eliana.
Thanks. So can I do 2? So the first is also, it's great to see you. You're cool. But the first question is, so you were mentioning supporting people in the long term, like beyond UCLA. So what does that look like? And the second is, I agree, I love being back in person, feels great, but I know there are like immunocompromised people or like disabled people who like have a hard time getting around, which unfortunately not a super accessible campus, stuff like that. So what's the plan to also try and promote stuff that will be like some online options or stuff that people can come through, or also to make the physical spaces more accessible and safer for people who face those kinds of problems?
Oh, thank you for your questions. I guess I'll answer them backwards. in terms of making sure that programs continue to be like accessible, like during the hearings that we have with the committees, also to kind of like poach those questions with them to one, like to value the programs that are still remaining virtual and not just to prioritize only in-person programming when looking at like the different funding gaps and the different orgs that come to speak to us, because like there are some people in some orgs that do prefer to still have the virtual option. Also informing orgs that they can still have a hybrid option. I know last year we encouraged a lot of orgs to have like a virtual option if they were kind of in between like being in person or not, like how they can broadcast it, just so that people who aren't able to make it there can still watch the program that's going on. So to continue to encourage that during our hearings and let student orgs know that that's like a possibility still for them to utilize and access. And then for the first question, oh, I think I forgot the first question. I'm sorry.
You mentioned supporting people like on UCLA, which is like, I love it. But like, I also would love to hear more details.
Oh, okay, perfect. I guess in terms of like the programs that do come, I guess both youth programs and the just like educationally based programs that do come to speak to CPC, a lot of them already inherently are about like professional development, whether that be specific towards like a career goals, like the pre-med, the pre-law orgs that do come to speak to us. So those are already kind of like professionally based, but to encourage them to have some type of like survey that we have, we normally ask them like, oh, do y'all have a survey to kind of get feedback, but to encourage them to kind of like continue to have like an email listserv for them, just so that they can check in and like have them also utilize alumni support. Sometimes we have orgs that try to ask for funds for like speakers to come in. So sometimes we also do ask them like, oh, are you kind of reaching out to alumni? So encourage them to use their network a little bit more. So that means the people who have already graduated on are kind of encouraged to come back and still participate in the org after they've graduated. Then for the youth programs, you know, to encourage those who are not yet college age to like still come to UCLA. They can see themselves at UCLA. They know they have a community and all the access that they can get once they're like transitioning out of high school into UCLA.
I love that. Thank you so much.
All right, anyone else? Any other questions? All right, if not, I mean, I can ask one. Yeah, so Elizabeth, I just kind of wanted to, because you said you've served for, you said 3 years, right? So I just kind of, 2 years. Okay, got you. Yeah, so I just wanted to ask, like, what are some changes that you foresee or some things that you wish, you know, would have already been considered within the organization while serving a part of the committee?
Thank you for your question. I would say in the past 2 years, we've had a lot of difficulties, I guess, getting back to orgs in a timely manner. And so that's something I definitely want to fix going into this year if appointed. Last year, especially, it was really challenging because it was difficult for us to reach quorum to even like have the hearings, so we couldn't really like move forward in like giving orgs their funds. And because like the reimbursement process at UCLA is already just a hassle, a lot of orgs, unfortunately, like because we heard their hearing so late, they either like had to cancel their event, move their event back, or they kind of come out of pocket for the event and then found out that we can't reimburse them after the fact, which really sucked for them and put a lot of like burden, and it was kind of discouraging because then at that point they don't want to return back to CPC if they're just like, oh, like if I apply for CPC, we're not going to get the money back in time even if I met the like deadlines to submit the applications. So something moving into this year that I really want to encourage is like having like a miniature set schedule for us, just so like we all kind of leave this block relatively open, so that when it does come time for us to have like our hearings, that's already a block of time that you're comfortable giving off. Like we normally use a when to meet, which is like fine because weekly schedules change, but just so that we could be a little more on top of it, that way we can encourage those who applied last year to come back and still utilize us as a resource, the new orgs who are going to be applying, for them to feel comfortable. It's like, oh, I can continue to put on programs with like CPC support because they can actually utilize the money we have available to them. So I know like last year was really bad, but something I guess for like the 2 years I've been on like board has been a problem, just kind of getting back to people on time because everyone's availability has just been hectic in a virtual world. So hopefully that could be something that we improve on, so that people still come to CPC and like they use this over and over and over.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And then last question, Sarah.
Hi, Elizabeth. Thank you for coming to talk with us. My question was, what is something that you have like learned in this role? And then what is something you hope also to like grow or improve on in this upcoming year?
I would say something I've learned in this role is that UCLA students are so creative. Like there's so many amazing programs that go on at this school. And it's just so cool. I realized that also a lot of student orgs have a hard time branching out of their like direct communities, which is like fine depending on like the type of program you're putting on. But in a lot of our hearings, sometimes you'll ask like, oh, have you been doing outreach? And they're just like, oh, by word of mouth. It's like, oh, you guys don't have a group me. Like you're not utilizing your Instagram. You're not kind of like flyering on Broom Walk. Like, how are you making sure people are finding out about like this amazing program? Because I want to go to the program. Like if I heard about it, I would have planned to go, but you're not like outreaching to enough people. Like make sure people know about your event. So I would say that's something I also kind of learned being on CPC. Like sometimes people don't realize like the pool we have with social media to really like put our events out there to encourage more people to come, and that people are interested in coming to their events, and that we should encourage more people to go to their events. I think something that I would want to improve on, I would say being detailed oriented. I think kind of seeing how many programs kind of come through and you're kind of asking them questions about like the fundamentals of their program, like what they're putting on. You realize how many details is really easy to like overlook when you're putting on a program. You're just like, oh, I forgot we would need something like this, or like, oh, I didn't speak to anybody about this like particular thing, or like I sent an email one day, but I forgot I could like follow up with someone. So I think that's something that I also kind of like, sometimes I can forget to like, oh yeah, like I can do that. Like I can kind of break it down into its individual parts and make sure that like I'm tackling each issue so that the event is for the most part like fail safe. Like it should go like as smooth as possible. Yeah.
All right, awesome. Thank you. Okay, and I think that was our last question. So Elizabeth, you are free to give your closing statement.
Okay. Sorry, I talk with my hands a lot, but thank y'all so much for hearing me out tonight. I have served on CPC for 2 years, so I would love for like my last year to serve on CPC again. I think the program CPC kind of supports is so important. That's why CPC is its own funding separate from CAC, because they realize the importance of having like cultural and educationally based programs. I feel like these programs help build community at the school, which increases retention for so many like marginalized communities. So I'd really love to be part of that like giving back process and making sure UCLA continues to like promote diversity, but also like actually encourage students to feel seen and comfortable while they're here. And I know like when I was on CPC these past 2 years, I felt like I was able to do that, and I would love to do that again for my like last year here.
Awesome, thank you. All right, Art, can we hear your recommendation? Okay, well, I'm sorry, did y'all hear me just then? Probably not, okay. Yeah, no, it's okay, Milan.
Sorry, it's really noisy. I heard.
Yeah, you're okay, yeah, Art's recommendation is 3-0. Are there any questions, comments, or concerns anyone wants to bring up? Okay, if not, can we get a motion?
I move to put Elizabeth on campus, my gosh, programs committee.
I second.
Okay, so who motioned? Was that Phoebe or Sarah?
That was me, Phoebe.
Okay, so yeah, Phoebe motions, Naomi seconds. All in favor, please raise your hand.
By the way, y'all are going to do such great things this year. It's very exciting.
I'm sorry, everyone. Keep your hands up because someone's not voting. So I'm just trying to make sure that I don't like skip someone's vote or something. So I got 13 votes. And okay, we're good. All right, oh yeah, the proxy is voting. Who's ever the proxy for Gen Rep 1, the proxies can't vote. Y'all can give the report though. So okay, by a vote of 12 to 0, nah, you good, fam. By a vote of 12 to 0, the motion is approved, and Elizabeth is now on the campus programs committee. Congratulations. Thank you for coming. All right, moving forward, Finance Committee Associate. Has Ryan Dunker been promoted? And I see Giovanna has her hand raised. I think she needs to be promoted again. There we go. Okay, see Ryan Dunker. All right, you're free to give your opening statement.
All right, awesome. Can you guys hear me? Perfect. All right. So my name's Ryan. I'm a fourth-year data theory major, and I'm hoping to join the finance committee for my third year here. It's been an incredible past 2 years, kind of learning the ins and outs of funding at UCLA, as well as helping a lot of different organizations and clubs on campus have a profound impact on the student body.
All right, thank you. Now we'll open the floor up for questioning. Theodore, I see you have a hand raised. Is that an old hand? Theodore? All right, we'll come back to him. Does anyone have any questions? All right, I'll start it out. So thank you so much for coming today, Ryan. So if you could just tell us a brief, give us an example of what are some things you plan to change, or what are some changes that you think need to be made within the finance committee, if there are any. And if not, then can you just tell us a little bit about what are some of your initiatives for this position if you get approved?
Yeah, of course. So I think one of the biggest initiatives I will hopefully try to implement this upcoming year, and I think it stems, I guess, from what I kind of saw last year, is that there's a lot of clubs on campus that really take advantage of our fund and really get the funding they need to put on a lot of their events. But so we do see a lot of recurring applications from the same club and not necessarily too many new applications. So with that, I think spreading more awareness about our fund to reach those more niche clubs on campus and help expand just really our role within funding at UCLA. So I think that would be a big initiative this upcoming year. And I think another one would also be maybe auditing some of the clubs we fund to make sure that they're using our funds correctly.
Okay, thank you so much. Juan?
Hi, Ryan. Thank you so much for joining us today. In your application, I believe you mentioned being on the finance committee. Is that correct?
Yes.
Perfect. Can you elaborate a little bit more about your experience on the finance committee for the past 2 years, and what have you? How that inform if you were to be appointed this year? How that would inform your leadership and your plan to improve the UCLA community?
Yeah, so I think my previous answer kind of answers in terms of improving the UCLA community. Just like from what I've noticed the past 2 years, we do see a lot of the same repeat clubs applying to our fund. And so again, just trying to increase awareness and take advantage of our Instagram account, social media, to make sure that people are aware that we have funding. I know there's other clubs I've been in where they had no clue that funding existed. So I've shown them that USAC has all these different funds that they can take advantage of. So I think that's one initiative to help the UCLA community. In terms of my leadership, the past 2 years have been definitely very insightful. So I would say I have a very good understanding of how the finance committee works. And I know that there aren't necessarily too many people that are returning the finance committee. So I guess with that comes a lot of responsibility with new members joining this upcoming year. So as a kind of senior member, I do hope to kind of instill a lot of, or show a lot of leadership, as well as help develop the skills of freshmen and sophomores who are hoping to join.
Sarah?
Hi, thank you for coming out. Sorry. My question was, I think one of the things my office is focusing on this year, as many financial people do, is just transparency. So what is something, I guess, like, are there any initiatives or any plans that you have to increase transparency? And if so, how do you plan on doing that?
Yeah, so transparency is always important when it comes to funding. I know this is something that I've always brought up over the past couple of years. And I think it's sometimes, I think with this past year, it's been a little bit more difficult because we have had such a high volume of applications throughout the year compared to the number of applications we got during COVID. So we've seen like a huge increase in applications. So it's a little bit harder to be more transparent about that in terms of giving clubs feedback on their applications and why we didn't fund certain things. So I think this upcoming year, it's just really being more strategic in the way that we're transparent and just trying to be on top of it, and just really being organized and communicating effectively within the finance committee to make sure that we're providing the feedback necessary to these clubs so that they can improve their applications and understand, like, in terms of like not necessarily applying to our fund if they are ineligible, or if they're applying, as Josh mentioned earlier, if they're applying a week in advance when it should be 3 weeks. So in terms of like that, just being more open and transparent about how our process works and how each club can improve.
Awesome. And then last question, Juan.
Thank you so much for all your answers. I have one follow-up question. I would love to know kind of like what drives your passions to serve the student body, specifically in this role.
Yeah, so I think to answer this question, I would say that like the funding or finance isn't necessarily where my career interests lie, but I think what really attracted me to this role was really the responsibility I have in terms of helping the brewing community grow. And I just kind of learning from predecessors about how the impact that they have in terms of what clubs can do with our funds. It's really a magical kind of thing to be a part of. So I think that's what really drives me and has brought me back for a third year.
Awesome, thank you. And I think that's all the questions that we have. So Ryan, you're free to give your closing statement.
Perfect. Yeah, thank you so much for taking the time to listen to my answers today, as well as giving me the opportunity to interview with you guys. I would really love the opportunity to join the finance committee for my third and final year. I think I've learned a lot over the past 2 years. I would love to implement some new initiatives, as well as be a leader for new members to come. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ryan. All right, Art, can we hear the recommendation?
Yes, I am finally out of that info session. I apologize. I was trying to double meeting this meeting up, but we are approved Ryan with a 3-0 vote.
Awesome, thank you. All right. Yeah, Milan, someone said you was at Disneyland or something. I was like, okay. All right. Does anyone have any questions, comments, or concerns?
First of all, Ryan's great. Also, could we promote Giovanna before we do the votes so we can get like a 14-0 vote? But great work, Ryan. Thanks for coming out here. I think Giovanna is like attending now or something.
Yeah, can someone promote her, please?
I think her internet might still be not like down because I tried to promote her multiple times. Oh wait, maybe.
Yeah, sometimes that happens. I've had that happen too.
All right.
Yeah, it's okay, Mylan, not your fault.
So is it not working to promote Giovanna?
Oh wait, is she joining as a? Oh, she declined being promoted as a 10 was, I think. me try again.
Thank you for your patience, Brian. We're just waiting for Giovanna since she's a voting member. So just we want to make sure that she's here to be able to vote.
All right, there she is. All right, awesome. Okay, if there's no more questions, comments, or concerns, can we get a motion?
Yeah, go ahead, Ryan.
Go ahead.
Thank you, you're sweet. I move to approve Ryan for the Finance Committee Associate.
I second.
Okay, Eliana, motion, 1 second. All in favor, please raise your hand. All right, by a vote of 13 to 0, the motion passes, and Ryan is now a Finance Committee Associate. Congratulations. Thank you so much for coming. All right, moving forward, next up for the Finance Committee Associate, we have Jennifer. Has Jennifer been promoted? Okay, I see Jennifer. The floor is yours for your opening statement.
Should I give my opening statement?
Yeah, the floor is yours for the opening statement.
Okay. So hi everyone, I'm Jennifer. I'm a senior busy con major, and I've been with FICOM since my sophomore fall. I've always enjoyed the job that's done by FICOM because I really enjoy being in the position to like approve for funding for other clubs and organizations, and I think it's a very meaningful job, and I want to like continue to be in this position in my last year at UCLA. Thank you.
Awesome, welcome. All right, now we'll open the floor for questions from council members. Juan.
Thank you, Jennifer, for joining us today. So you mentioned you've had in your application, you mentioned you had 2 fruitful years of being part of the USAC committee. Can you elaborate on some of your achievements or some positive experiences that you had in the finance committee, and how you will build, what your plans are for this academic year in the finance committee if you were to be appointed?
Sure. So throughout these 2 years with FICOM, I guess internally we're a very tight community. There are like just a handful of us. So we always hang out together, and then I really enjoyed the time being within the committee itself and externally to other student organizations. I think we've approved around $8.8 million in student funding last year. I think that's a very significant amount, and for the student undergraduate body, as well as like, just as an amount itself. And that's why I think it's very meaningful, especially when seeing these events are being taken place, using our funding, using the money that everyone has a part in, because I know like everyone pays for these, student government body money. So I really want to be part of this society in my senior year going forward. Some plans going forward is that I think we can promote the fund even further so that more student organizations, whether the existing ones or new ones that is being established, will be aware of our fund, so that everything is transparent, and also everyone will have access to it. Thank you.
Thank you. Eliana?
So sorry, thanks. And great answers, great work. So I guess my question would probably be, what are some things that you'd either want to change within FICOM or that you'd want to do to promote continuity of like the successes and the accomplishments that you've made, or both?
Yeah. Thank you for your question. I guess maybe carrying on something that I am satisfied with that I want to carry on going forward is that I think as a committee ourselves, we're very tight So I guess this essentially like this vibe can go on going forward so that as a committee, we have common goals and objectives. We know what we want to achieve for the student undergraduate body. Something that I want to change is that I think we can have a greater impact on social media. On Facebook, on Instagram, we can have more followers. We can gauge more like interest into our funds so that more students will be aware of what we're doing and how these funds are being allocated.
Great answers. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, do we have any more questions? Twice. All right, Jennifer, your closing statement.
First of all, thank you so much for taking time to attend this interview. I know it's late in the evening and you guys must have a busy schedule. I just want to reiterate my passion toward joining PhyCom as an associate. I really enjoy serving the undergraduate body as I have been in the past 2 years, and I would like to continue to be in this position going forward in my last year at UCLA. Thank you.
So much for coming. All right. All right, can we hear your recommendation, please?
Yeah, ARC approved Jennifer with a 3-0 vote.
Okay, awesome. Does anyone have any questions, comments, or concerns? Going once, going twice. All right, if not, can we get a motion?
I move to appoint Jennifer for the financial FICOM committee.
I second.
All right, Elise, I'm sorry, Sarah motions, Anna seconds. All in favor, please raise your hand. Okay. All right. All abstaining, please raise your hand. All against, please raise your hand. All right. We had someone not vote. Okay, so by a motion, I'm sorry, by a vote of 12-0, the motion is approved. And Jennifer is now a Finance Committee Associate. So congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you so much, everyone.
No problem. Thank you for coming. Okay, moving forward, next up we have the appointment for the Undergraduate Council. I see Jason Lee has been promoted. You are free to give your opening statement.
Hi, my name is Jason Lee. I'm a third year and I transferred from UCSB and I'm currently an economics major. I'm applying to be a transfer appointee in the Undergraduate Council. And I feel that I would be a good fit due to my previous experiences in student government. At UCSB, I was appointed student representative for the Internal Affairs Committee that reviewed project proposals to be given to the Senate. And I was tasked with speaking on behalf of the student body. At UCSB, I spent a lot of time discussing with my peers while respecting confidentiality and gathering information on public opinion to gauge how the students felt on certain projects so I could voice information on public or voice those opinions to the committee. And as a recently admitted transfer student, I wish to do the same at UCLA. Academic undergraduate affairs are an issue that affects me personally as well as an undergraduate student. And I would love to be a contributing voice to discussions around that area. And if admitted, I would do my best to speak on behalf of those I represent.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Good to see you, Jason. We'll open the floor for questions from council members. Eliana.
Thank you, Jason. Appreciate your coming out here. So, guess my main question would be, how do you plan on trying to promote having the council pay more attention to students in general? Because I feel like there's been some difficulties there in the past, and also there's been some particular issues for disabled students and probably many other groups as well. So how do you plan on trying to, I guess just keep a focus on like the role of this council in promoting like good quality and accessible education, and need to be listening to students to do that.
I can't speak on behalf of the other members of the committee, but me personally, actually, I think you brought up the disabled community. When I was in internal affairs, I worked very closely with with the disabled committee, primarily because they were so vocal about what they wanted. We had like a lot of events centered around celebrating that kind of identity, and we invited people of other communities so that they would feel more included from the school. I feel like just continuing that kind of attitude. I did not hear about the issues that this committee had the last years, but I think if I continue to listen and people are vocal about what they want, I feel like issues would be minimal because I would try to represent them.
That sounds excellent. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. You'll be great.
Thank you.
All right, anyone else with questions? I guess I'll throw one in there. So Jason, what are some of your like initiatives that you want to bring to this council?
I think one initiative that I've been thinking about is that I know a big issue is about the accessibility for office hours. I know a lot of people talk about whether office hours should be remote or in person. I don't know if there's the same system here, but in UCSB, we have paid note takers employed by the university. And I was thinking maybe if we have note takers during office hours, I feel like since there's precedent of other universities having note takers in lectures, I feel like it'd be more convincing to get them to have note takers in office hours as well. Obviously, there's a lot of like confidential conversations in office hours. So what gets released could be under the consent of the student in the office hours. Like they could consent what they want to be released.
Okay, I like that. Thank you. Sarah?
Hi, Jason. Thank you so much for coming to talk to us. I just to make sure I heard right, you're a transfer student from UCSB.
Mhm.
Okay, perfect. I guess so. My question is transitioning to campus. What do you hope? I guess like what do you plan on bringing from UCSB to UCLA, and how will like that help like you lead the undergraduate council? I guess.
I guess one thing is going back to the first question about the issues that this committee had with listening to other people. Obviously, I don't know about that situation, but at least when I was in UCSB, I feel like we did a lot of great work. It was mainly about the disabled community, but other communities too. We were able to put up a lot of events so that they got what they wanted. And yeah, it's just a fresh face. I feel like I want to bring that to this community too.
Okay. Does any other council member have any other questions? All right. If not, Jason, you're free to give your closing statement.
So thank you so much for this opportunity. Some things I wanted to touch upon were some work experiences I had in the past. This summer, I worked in a law firm with 4 other interns. My group of interns were handed projects weekly, and we had to largely govern ourselves and how we were to split up the work. This caused some stress and disorder, but going through it helped me hone my teamwork skills. That in order to make progress, heavy negotiation and communication is involved. I feel like this experience will aid me in going through projects in the undergraduate council too. And additionally, for many years, I dedicated a lot of time tutoring underprivileged kids for free, working with my hometown to clean up our local environments and working in soup kitchens. And now that I'm a newly admitted student to UCLA, I would love to be able to give back to the UCLA community as well.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Okay. Art, can we hear your recommendation?
Yeah, so ARC approved Jason with a 3-0 vote.
Thank you. All right. Is there anyone, any council member wants to give any questions? All right, has any comments or concerns they want to bring up regarding this appointment?
We do not. Jason was a good applicant, I think, for us to vote that way. Yeah.
All right. If not, can we get a motion?
I move to approve Jason Lee for the undergraduate council.
I second.
All right, Sarah motions, Theodore seconds. All in favor, please raise your hand. All right, by a vote of 13 to 0, the motion passes. And Jason is now part of the undergraduate council. Congratulations.
Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you for coming. All right, next up, we have the appointment for the Legislative Assembly. I see, I hope I don't butcher this. Actually, how do you say your name?
Ebonin.
Ebonin. Okay, got you. I don't want to butcher that. All right. Well, you're free to give your opening statement.
Thank you. Hi, I'm Ebonin Kulkarni. I'm a second-year transfer student majoring in sociology and minoring in education studies, and I'm applying for a position in the LGA as a transfer appointee under the TSR. And I want to be a member of the LGA because given my academic background in sociology and education, I believe I have a pretty decent understanding of some of the workings and issues at a university like UCLA. And I really want to get involved on a policy level or a decision-making level. Even in my professional experience, everything I've done has basically been for the sake of people or to represent people. Customer service, budgeting, saving money for companies. So as such, I have a desire to work for people and to represent people. And that follows me to my life at UCLA. And I want to work for the people of UCLA and represent them, especially the transfer community, being a transfer student myself. And so, yeah, I believe given my experience and my academic backgrounds, I think I would be a good fit for this role.
Awesome. Thank you for that. All right. Now we'll open the floor up for questions. Eliana.
Thanks. I'm also a sociology major, so I loved hearing that mentioned. So how do you plan on applying like sociological insights and education, the stuff you're learning in the studying education, to having more better informed, more equitable, and more productive functioning of the Legislative Council?
It's a good question. So in my classes so far, I've really learned about, resources, resource allocation and distribution, things like campus climate, and also a lot of the students, especially in the transfer community, their backgrounds they come from more like minority backgrounds. And so throughout their lives, they haven't been allocated the same resources that others have been, or they've come from underprivileged backgrounds, for example. Campus climate is a great example where at this school, it is a diverse school, but there are still minority groups. So just knowing that and knowing how, or knowing who to help, who to distribute resources to, or who I can really reach out to help, that's something that my background in sociology and education has sort of informed me with, and that's something I would plan on, making decisions on.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Great answer.
Awesome. Thank you. I guess I'll give the next question. What are some specific initiatives that you plan to bring to the Legislative Assembly?
So I've been thinking, based on my own experience and my fellow transfer students' experiences, I think one of the most important things that I want to, mention or bring up is the connectivity between faculty, admin, and students, because it is, in my opinion, at least, it's sort of lacking at UCLA. We have, sorry, I have a cough. We have plenty of great faculty members. We have plenty of great students, but there seems to be a bridge there that has, been burnt, and there's no connectivity between the two groups. Judging from my experience itself, I think students and faculty both can really benefit from that connection. For students, it helps in their academic experience and in the professional experience as well. And for professors, it really helps them, lecture better, teach better, and make sure that their students are really understanding the content better. So, you know, some resources or even greater choice to professors to choose things like recording lectures along with live lectures, because if now that we're going back to in-person classes, but a lot of students have gone through the online COVID years, and it's been hard to go back. And at least personally speaking, I sort of lost the edge I used to have in, just sitting in a 2-hour lecture and just taking notes without having a recorded lecture, because I've been relying on recorded lectures so often now. So I think if that's given as an option, I think that would really benefit a lot of students and faculty themselves. So I would definitely push for something like that.
Awesome, thank you. That was very well thought out. Thank you. Do we have any more questions from council members? Okay, if not, you're free to give your closing statement.
All right. Well, I'd like to thank everyone for this opportunity. Unlike other candidates, most of the candidates here have a lot of prior experience with student government, but I do not. But I do have a strong desire to be involved with UCLA and to really, as I said, represent people and work for people, especially the transfer community. So I would very much appreciate this position if granted the opportunity, and I'm sure I would do a great job with it.
Awesome, thank you so much. All right. Can we get the recommendation from ARC, please?
Yeah, so ARC approved Ebonin by a 3-0 vote.
Thank you. All right, are there any questions, comments, or concerns council members want to discuss amongst themselves? Yeah, Theodore?
Yeah, like as you made clear, like he doesn't have much experience, but like I think many of his ideas are valid, and I think he has great intentions. I think this could be a good role for him to grow as a leader and as a student at UCLA. He seems to have the drive to lead and to help others get the resources that they need. And so I think it would be a good fit for him, and I think it's worth giving him just the shot at trying it out and being a good leader on campus.
Thank you. Eliana?
Yeah, I think it definitely has a finger on the pulse in terms of like a lot of primary issues, hybrid access, and like the online options that he was talking about, as well as like the need for the connections with faculty, more equitable distribution of resources. I think he definitely gets it and would be really good in legislative council.
Thank you, thank you. All right. Well, if there's no more questions, concerns, or comments, can we please, can we get a motion?
I move to approve Ebonin for legislative council.
I second.
Okay, Eliana motions, Theodore seconds. All in favor, please raise your hand. All right, by a vote of 13-0, the motion passes and Ebonin is now a part of the Legislative Assembly. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, next up we have another appointee for the Legislative Assembly. Ashraf, have they been promoted? Okay. All right, you're free to give your opening statement.
All right, thanks. Hello, everyone. My name is Ash, and I'm a sophomore student at UCLA. I decided to reapply to the Academic Senate because of its demonstrable capacity to address the specific needs and concerns of the Bruin community. And, the Legislative Assembly in particular gives me an opportunity to reach wide and affect campus policy on a more broad and fundamental level. And to me, I see like the Legislative Assembly not only as like a body of deliberation, but as a vehicle of student advocacy and civic engagement. And as a political science major, I feel that I have an obligation to advocate and engage others in the work of public service. And most importantly, I feel that it is my duty as an international student to represent the underrepresented, the people who've been unjustly singled out because of their race or religion or gender or sexual orientation or any identity characteristic. And I come from Casablanca, Morocco, which is a very conservative country. So having that background to me has really opened me up to the need for promoting issues of liberal issues of racial equity, financial security, women equality, and that is why, as a senator, I'll make sure we are upholding our principles of diversity, inclusion, and equity. Thank you.
Awesome, thank you. All right, we'll open the floor for questions. Sarah?
Hi, Ash. Thank you so much for coming to talk with us. Just to clarify, did you said you're reapplying for the position? Did you have the position for 1 year, or you?
Yeah. Last year I was in the Legislative Assembly last year.
Okay, perfect, awesome. So I guess my question was, what, based on what you guys did last year, what do you hope to continue doing, and what do you hope sort of to change for this year and to implement, and then sort of just what are some ideas of policy that you would like to look into for this year?
Yeah, well, first off, last year our work mainly concerned dealing with like the onset of COVID-19 and its impact on instruction, and we sent like a letter to the administration asking for the public accountability of the lifting of the mandates and sort of the effects of that, ensuring academic leniency for those that are unable to attend in-person classes, and also making sure that we are advocating for the disabled students and making sure that they're properly accommodated. That was one of our actually chief goals. We had like a student strike in the chancellor office where we really focused on making sure that we're securing the ambitions of the disabled community. And so I look forward to continuing that work of disability justice, and not just disability justice, but racial justice, and ensuring that we are also promoting women in like the STEM fields and all of that. And also I was looking more towards focusing on voting, the issue of voting, especially this year and with like the whole political season. I know Harvard has this Center for Democratic Governance. So if we could have something similar to that, where we're encouraging and even maybe mandating voting, I think that would be pretty useful, given that UCLA is a public institution. We really depend on the nature of the California political climate. And if we have students voting on like the important issues like reproductive rights, equal pay, equal work, all of that, I feel like UCLA will really truly embody what it means to be, what it means to have inclusive excellence, which is one of the top priorities of the Vice Chancellor. I think he mentioned that in his letter. And also, I guess, diversity is core to UCLA's mission as a public university. And if we could have some sort of disability awareness training online module, because we had that for COVID-19, where we had to complete these online modules. And if we had that for diversity awareness, I think that would be perfect. Teaching students the importance of diversity in education, and why it's important that we are committed to furthering diversity, because that's the essence of an inclusive educational experience. So I think those would be my top priorities.
All right, Eliana.
Thank you so much, Ash, and loved hearing you mention our student strike for disability rights, racial justice, all that last year. That was amazing. Anyhow, since it kind of looks like some admin is kind of trying to back off of their promises, so what are your goals for like making them, trying to encourage them to be accountable and trying to encourage the faculty as well? And the students who you'll be engaging with to be involved in making the promises that were made the end of last year, because of folks like you getting out there, making sure that stuff is held up to actually continue to move forward in inclusive excellence.
Yeah, well, I think inclusive excellence depends in large part on transparency, and I think transparency cannot be achieved without smooth and effective communication. So we must develop a school culture that welcomes honest, open communication between different parties. And in this case, that would be the administration and the disabled student union. If we can hold more frequent town hall meetings and just discussions on the concerns of the disabled community, I think we can reach more solutions. And I think just staying persistent with the administration, because last year because of our strike, we managed to secure some victories for the disabled community. So if we keep at it and sending letters, whether that be sending letters to the administration or holding more strikes and protests, I think we can reach more solutions and goals that the disabled community is asking for, and not just the disabled community, but other marginalized groups like African Americans and LGBTQ students.
That's amazing. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right. If we have no more questions, you are free to give your closing statement.
All right. Well, thank you everyone for giving me this opportunity. I understand that the work of the Senate is serious and sometimes daunting, but that is to be expected if you're trying to inspire broad change. And with that in mind, I'd like to reiterate my objective as a senator. I will actively promote principles of diversity and inclusion, because in my belief, I think an educational institution and a community, for that matter, cannot prosper without a sense of belonging and camaraderie, and that is what my objective is all about. And I look forward to working with you all in the future.
Awesome. Thank you so much. All right. Can we hear ARC's recommendation?
So ARC approved Ash with a 3-0 vote.
Okay. Does anyone want to comment or have any concerns regarding this appointment?
I wanted to voice I guess a little bit of a concern about I guess the previous answer to Eliana's question, just because I think it is really important for us to have transparency with administration and their policies. And I know academic senate is a space where we should students being present is really important. I just note that students with disabilities have been doing a lot of advocacy in the UCLA Committee on Disability and other places on campus. It just does concern me. Just the idea that more strikes and protests is the solution. Those are pretty energy taxing and emotionally exhausting to the students that are really involved at the forefront of those. And I know in the past, even with those strikes, we definitely didn't have a full win from Murphy Hall. So I guess just having concerns about really managing burnout within student advocacy and how we take care of them. So I don't know, I had some concerns there. I don't really know what the discussion point is, but yeah, Naomi, for that stuff.
Yeah, I just wanted to kind of second what you're saying. And then also, because I just wrapped up some teaching assistant training, and I really want to emphasize the importance of using person first language. So we wouldn't I know throughout the interview process, not the interview process, but here right now in the council meeting, saying disabled students, we would want to say students with disabilities, as Phoebe just exhibited. So just noting some stuff like that, which kind of highlights what you're saying, we need more just training on inclusivity in UCLA, which is definitely a big goal of not only me, but of other people as well. So yeah, that's all I wanted to add.
Okay. Does anyone else have anything else they want to bring up? Eliana?
Yeah, that was good. Thanks everyone. I agree with that, but also as much as it sucks, to be honest, when you have to get out there and like protest and sit in, it is good to have folks on Academic Senate who do have your back on it if it happens and if the Disabled Students Union decides to do that. So even though that's not something we want to become necessary again, I do appreciate Ash being like, yeah, if it happens, I'll back you up. I think that could be very helpful.
Awesome. Okay. All right. Well, if that's all, can we get a motion?
Move to approve Ash for Legislative Assembly.
I second.
All right, Ellie on the motion, Sarah seconds. All in favor, please raise your hand.
Also, I think Alicia left, so there might be one vote less. Just to let you know, Carl.
All right. So we got 10 so far. I got 2. Okay. All right, all abstaining, please raise your hand. All right, and then all against, please raise your hand. Okay, so that's by a vote of 10 to 1 to 0. The motion is approved, and Ashraf is now on the Legislative Assembly. So congratulations.
Thank you very much. Looking forward to working with you guys.
Thank you. Okay, moving forward. Next, we have an appointee for the Committee on Undergraduate Admissions and Relations with Schools. So Carol, has Carol been promoted? Okay, you're free to give your opening statement.
Okay, thank you. Hi, everyone. My name is Karel Davalos, pronounced she, hers. I'm a third-year human biology and society major, and I'm currently applying for a position as the SIOC appointment for the Committee on Undergraduate Admissions and Relations with Schools. So I currently serve as the Access Coordinator for SPACE, or Samhang Filipino Advancing Community Empowerment, as well as serving as a current chairperson for the Student Initiated Outreach Committee. These positions have given me a unique perspective on community conditions that a lot of marginalized and underrepresented communities face when getting into higher education, as well as just getting support for any post-secondary goals. These positions have allowed me to work with other marginalized and underrepresented communities and kind of see the experiences that these students face firsthand. And I want to be a part of this committee in order to amplify those voices and amplify the needs of students within these communities to hopefully help support them when trying to get into institutions like the ones here at UCLA. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Okay, we'll open the floor for questions. Does anyone have any questions? All right, I guess I'll start out. Okay, so for this position, obviously, you just kind of talked about your resume. So you're a very qualified individual in regards to dealing with undergraduate admissions. I wanted to ask, like, what is your understanding of admissions for Black students? And do you have any specific initiatives that are revolved around getting more Black students into UCLA? If not, that's fine, I understand, but I just wanted to ask that.
Yeah, so working on the SIOC, I have also been able to work with staff from like projects like SHAPE, which is ASU's Access project. And I understand that a lot of these underrepresented communities face a lot of socioeconomic barriers, as well as, and these barriers can transcend into lack of information and lack of resources on things to do outside of high school. I think a lot of the time, high school students or even transfer students are are kind of pressured to go into a certain direction with high school students from these communities. I've seen that a lot of them are kind of like pressured to go into college, thinking that college is the only option, and get very discouraged when they realize that, when they don't really want to go in that direction, but are still forced to do it, even though school isn't for them. So I think really emphasizing resources and resources to other like career options that don't require you to go to college, and that pathway is very important. As far as like complete specific and other community conditions, although I'm not really like informed in a lot of those, I hope to further expand on my knowledge on the trends in these communities and the Black community by working on this committee on the SIOC next year, and working with all the different underrepresented communities there, and definitely talking with the SHAPE AC and talking about the needs of the Black community and students in those underrepresented areas.
Awesome, thank you. Sarah?
Hi, Carol. Thank you so much for coming to talk with us. I had a sort of a two-part question. First part is sort of similar to Carl's. You see, and I don't know if it's the same answer. I completely understand, but UCLA is trying to also become a I want to make sure I have the right a Hispanic serving institution. Juan did it, like I saw his lips move it. But basically by 2025, two-part question. One, how do you plan on supporting that, if at all? And the second thing is, how do you also, I guess one of my concerns is making sure that those students feel not only like they're part of UCLA, not like they're part of UCLA because of that, but because we want them here and they add so much to our community. So how do you plan on promoting that as well?
Yeah, so sitting on the committee, on the SIOC committee, I'm actually able to work with different access and outreach coordinators from a lot of the other access projects. And one of those projects is MECHA Sinachli. So that is the access project for MECHA, and currently, and in the previous years before, they were not really functional. They currently don't have any staff, and they didn't have staff last year. And so one of my main focuses for this year, sitting as being the chair, was to emphasize the need and support and resources for this population and these students, and making sure that Sinachli is functional in the upcoming year. So I think this really kind of just honing in and getting staff hired and providing extra support to their access coordinator, and kind of creating a tangible like project timeline. And once we get that going, and once that project is up and running, I would like to, implement other resources and other resources that these students need for more support. But yeah, in order to kind of like address that, my main focus would definitely just be like making sure that Sinachli is functional in the next year, and making sure that they're serving the students that they need and are outreaching to these communities and underrepresented areas. And then having like one-on-one meetings with the project itself to see what the committee can do, and really analyzing student trends, and kind of honing down on, again, the resources that they need, because it's constantly changing.
Juan?
Thank you so much, Carol, for joining us today. I first want to acknowledge, thank you to my council members for asking questions. Those were really hard questions, and you answered them like a champ. Those were really, really hard questions, and you managed them and navigated them so beautifully and so clearly. So I want to commend you for that. My question is a little bit easier. I want to know a little bit more about your involvement in Samahang Filipino, and how that will inform your working in this like retention and retention space and student organizing, how that will inform your goals and your leadership in this appointment if you were to be appointed.
Yeah, so last year I actually was the activities coordinator for Samahang Filipino. So I was on the SP board, and I also worked directly with SPACE, which is again their access project, as a peer advisor for high school students in historic Filipino town. But I think these two positions have really given me a greater understanding of the importance of community building and stories, and the importance of histories and backgrounds of all these communities. Being the activities coordinator, I was able to kind of collaborate with other organizations, other cultural organizations, and kind of learn about their backgrounds and their histories, and the importance of constantly keeping in contact with each other. And working as a peer advisor for SPACE, I mean, working directly with students from these communities is a very unique experience, and being able to hear their backgrounds, I mean, you're never able to see, like, there's a lot more to just, them as a student, and I think the reason why so many people get involved in these access projects are because of the students, and because of learning of their stories and their backgrounds. And I think it brings back to something that my organization really brings up a lot, is no history, no self. Knowing your history knowing your history allows you to kind of make decisions going forward. We're all here because of the work that our predecessors did, and the people before us put into the work that we have here now. So yeah, so I guess my main thing would just be amplifying student voices and student stories, and knowing that they're more than just kind of like data, but also people, and a group of people who have similar experiences. And so that's why, we have these access projects to kind of serve them.
All right, and last question, Eliana.
Thanks. So that was great work. Thank you for coming out here like close to 9, with fellow council members. But yeah, I have a few questions. The first is, I think SHAPE was interested in having like a thingy on the admissions form for folks to mention if they'd been like students who were working with SHAPE, and have that considered. So would you be interested in moving that forward? And the second is, I know there's people in Los Angeles and California and around this country who've been in foster care, have faced a lot of injustices, and face a lot of underrepresentation in higher education at this university. So, but times, what are some of the stuff you'd be interested in, whether it's just like checking in with the community and building some initiatives together, or whether you already have stuff planned out? I'd love to hear your ideas on that. And thank you again, really appreciate you.
Yeah, of course. Thank you so much for your question. Actually, this has been something that I've talked about with my predecessors, was trying to have these, these access project involvements as part of something to fill out in your application in the school. I think, being a part of these access projects is really important. And I know that EAOP already has something like this, and filling out whether you are part of their outreach program as well. So this is definitely something that I want to do in the future. Obviously, admission to this university isn't guaranteed, and being part of these projects isn't, a complete indicator of whether you'll get in or not. But I think it shows commitment, and it shows involvement with students who are part of this university and are part of an organization or a directive that are directly supporting them, and providing them providing them resources to get into these universities. So I definitely want that to be something to consider in the future. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Oh, wait, Carl, I think you're muted, or
I'm so sorry. So yeah, I was saying that was our last question. You are now free to give your closing statement.
yeah. So I just want to thank everyone here for your time. I know that this is a lot of work and a lot of energy on your end. So thank you again so much for the opportunity and taking the time out of your day. But again, I just want to revisit the idea of amplifying student voices. You know, I'm here not only to support the people involved in admissions to these universities, the student staff, the project staff, but I'm also here to amplify student voices of, you know, high schoolers and transfers and future transfer students who want to get into this university or just want to get into a university on its own. I think these projects that are student run, student led are absolutely like brilliant. And something my predecessor told me was students know students best. And being a, you know, being a student representee on this committee, not only like a student who, not only just a student, but a student who works directly with these communities are important. So I think that's why having an SIOC appointment is really important to have on this committee, because again, they're working with the students that we hope to help support, that these admissions are, you know, hopefully not making easier, but how can we have these students? How can we have more of these students into our institutions? So yeah, I think I kind of like have a unique experience and a unique perspective that hopefully I can bring into this committee.
Awesome. Thank you so much for coming. All right. So Art, can we hear your recommendation?
Yeah, so ARC approved Krill with a 3-0 vote.
Okay, awesome. Theodore, I see you got your hand raised.
Yeah, I just want to say in regards to your comments about the transfer community, I want to say thank you for keeping that in mind as well. I hope that during your time you could really push the transfer agenda, making sure that this university accepts a diverse group of transfers from various community colleges, but if they're in-state students, obviously there's those who transfer from other 4 years, basically the previous or a couple pointers ago from UCSB, but I know in the past it's always an issue of trying to make sure like all community colleges are represented in California in regards to acceptances in UCLA. And so if you could always advocate for that, I think that's something that would just very, very be dear to me. I think sometimes there's a bit of inequity going on in regards to like which community colleges receive the most acceptances to UCLA. Like I know, I'll be honest, many students from local colleges like Pasadena City College or Santa Monica College do have a big student base at UCLA. And so I look forward to future years where more students from colleges like East LA College, Santa Ana College, colleges in the Bay, they get accepted as well. Yeah, thank you.
Juan?
I just wanted to thank you for coming to speak with us today and for applying. With all your responses and your application, you presented so much passion and so much grounded, community-oriented passion that I really appreciated. In your voice, I heard kind of like the representation in this like admission process that I've always wanted to hear. So I really, really appreciate you. Thank you so much for applying, and I'm so excited to make this appointment, proceed with this appointment.
Okay. If no one else has any comments or concerns to express, can we get a motion?
I enthusiastically motion to appoint Carol Davalos to the Committee on Undergraduate Admission and Relations with Schools.
I second.
All right, one motion, Theodore seconds. All in favor, please raise your hand. By a vote of 12-0, the motion passes, and Carol is now on the Committee on Undergraduate Admissions and Relations with Schools. Congratulations. Thank you for coming. Okay. Our next appointment is a consent item. So it's for the Student Initiated Outreach Committee, Peter Fernandez. Does anyone disagree with this appointment or have any concerns about this appointment?
It should be on the doc. I was gonna say that I shared with council. I'm not sure if I could share it like publicly, but it should be out there for you all to review. I think this candidate, we had a previous candidate for the Student Initiated Outreach Committee, but that candidate didn't qualify to be on this committee. So if you all are confused about why there's another candidate, that's why. But yeah, take a look.
All right. So, okay, if no one has any concerns or any objections, then Peter Fernandez is now appointed to the Student Initiated Outreach Committee. So congratulations. Okay, we got through those appointments. Whew. All right, now we'll get into officer reports. All right, so I met with Vice Chancellor Gordon over the last week. We had one of our monthly meetings before the school actually started. So I just kind of talked to him about some issues regarding housing and a plethora of things that kind of revolve around the initiatives that my team is kind of pursuing this year. So I'll have more to follow on that. I met with the UCLA Sustainability Committee regarding UCLA sustainability policy progression. I learned a lot on that, so that was pretty dope. Met with admin and ASC was also there regarding some urgent appointments that we need to make. So we're just trying to figure out ways to, get those, because we got a lot of pressing appointments that we have to make like pretty soon, or it's going to actually affect like initiatives and funding for certain things. So we really got to get those appointments. And so once we get the list back from Jessica, and that's probably something we'll kind of talk about a little bit later as well. We'll make a new graphic or whatever, or confirm the graphic that we do have. And I'm trying to get at UCLA, like the strategic communications page, to share that so we can get it out to a bigger group, a bigger audience. I've been in contact with the other UC presidents. We have a council of UC council of presidents. So we've just basically been discussing talks with President Drake, who's the president of university, like the entire UC. And then I released general staff applications. All right, IVP.
Yeah, so this week, to start off with ARC, we interviewed all of the appointees who were here yesterday, so that was very fun. And we're planning to set up more interviews for tomorrow so that hopefully we can fill the academic senate so that they can start doing their work. I was in the meeting with Carl, ASC, ARC, and Jessica to discuss the urgent appointments that we need. That being said, we are still in need of students to apply to appointments that are found by ASC. So if you know any students who are interested, please encourage them to apply because it will eventually affect some of the workings of these committees if those seats are not filled. And if you have individual office appointments, especially those consent item appointments, please send them over to me along with their application, names and UID. And then in terms of my office, we hosted our first in-person hybrid directors meeting yesterday. So that was very, very exciting. Some things that we talked about are our IVP directors retreat that we're hosting next week to hopefully foster like more community and encourage collaboration amongst committees this year. We're also planning a lot of developments and bonding activities for directors. So hopefully everyone can get to know each other, since this is the first time like the IVP office has gone into a hybrid format. So that's very exciting. We're also starting official officer reports for IVP directors to promote transparency and accountability throughout the office and make sure that I know where I can best support them. And then we also released our general staff applications and internship applications last week, but they're still live, so people are still applying. So if you know anyone who's interested, please encourage them to apply. And then for next steps, next week we'll have our all staff meeting and to like introduce the new general staff members who are hired over the summer to these committees. And yeah, that should be all for the IVP office.
EVP.
Yeah, so for this week, there wasn't too much action coming from the office. I really wanted my directors and staff to kind of adjust. That being said, on my end, I was just working on managerial things. Also, I apologize, my voice is gone, week 0 things. But I was setting up rooms for our weekly and all staff and exec meetings that will begin next week. And also have been helping my team set up information or get the proper information from HR in regards to stipending. We also closed our fellowship applications and actually had an amazing applicant turnout, which I'm really excited for. Our first meetings will begin at the top of next week.
Okay, Gen Rep 3.
Thank you. So I've been working with Juan and Alicia on appointments. Mainly my focus has been getting the word out to student groups, and also I'm planning some printing and flyering. So like we have a spreadsheet, which I think we'll put out pretty soon. Thank you, Juan and Alicia, for your great work on that. Also been working on some speakers. I have Denise Oliver Velez, who's really cool. She used to be in the Black Panthers, has been like a professor, worked in public media. She's scheduled for, I think, October 26th. So let me know if you want to help like promote that or anything. And I have a few other speakers I'm talking with, and also hired a few more people for my directors. So been great, and shout out once again to all lovely people I get to work with. Thank you.
Community Service Commissioner.
Hi, y'all. Yeah, I just to add on to something that Eliana mentioned regarding appointments. Eliana put together a spreadsheet to sign up for slots for flyering on Bruin Walk. So that'll be going out to all council members so we can get ourselves, our faces out on the ground into the student body. So I hope y'all sign up for that. That will be going out soon as we finalize the flyers, print them out, and then schedule when we can go out to flyer. So that's kind of like on. Oh, and then I also today I had a lovely meeting with Jessica and Archie to talk about appointments, to talk about some logistics regarding the Community Service Commission. So I really appreciate Jessica and Archie for that meeting. The Community Service Commission is working on, this week we have our first all staff meeting. And I'm so excited to have all of our members, all of our staff members come together and talk at our first orientation and first meeting all together. We also have a retreat this weekend. So far we've been planning the retreat as well as a big event that we will be announcing very, very shortly. And it's going to be an amazing opportunity for community service orgs on campus to promote their work and get their voices out into the community. So CSC is very busy getting ready to launch. Also, SFS funding opportunities. And yeah, thank you so much.
Okay. Financial Supports Commissioner.
Hi everyone. This week has been a busy week for FSC. We have started distributing eye clickers, goggles, and lab coats starting on Tuesday. Yes. Oh, thank you, Phoebe. If anyone, we still have supplies, so if anyone knows anyone, you can just tell them to pop by. But also we got like a huge donation of eye clickers, so we have so many more. We've been working on. I have a meeting with New York Times people on Thursday. We've just like finished. We're mostly done with hiring directors. We have a few more positions available. And then we also have been working on some like setting up some meetings for Blue Book funding. And then I think that, oh, and then I had a meeting with Anna today. That was lovely. So yeah, that's FSC.
Okay, transfer student rep. Theodore.
Sorry about that. Hi everyone, how's it going? Oh, all right. Oh yes, okay. So obviously today's agenda, I've been doing my best to fill in the positions, the appointments, and so again, I'm gonna just reiterate what someone already said. Essentially, like if you have any students that you think could fill in these roles, we would really appreciate your help. I've been talking to different academic departments about what they could do in regards to their transfer student body. Obviously, transfer students this past week must have been a crazy one because now the university is officially pushing a pre-COVID academic school year for the most part. So essentially, things are looking a lot different than they were last year, even the year before. And so, just keep them in your thoughts and prayers, and just hopefully that they don't overthink whether they're worthy of even being at UCLA. They are more than worthy. They're more than capable, and just support them during this time as they get used to being a junior at this massive university with its quite complex institutions and programs and services. But at least they're here to help them. And so, yeah, if you have any input for me, just reach out to me as well. I'd really appreciate it as I'm trying to grow in this role as well. Thank you for your time, and take care.
Thank you. All right. Wait, Daniela, did you have something you want to say?
Yeah, it's just like a follow-up to what Teddy said in regards to like filling seats for appointments. The academic senate application has to close tonight just because it is like a really long interview process, as y'all have seen. And we were given an academic senate from exec overall this Friday. So if any students expressed interest, they can still probably try to get their applications in, but it is on very, very tight turnaround of like the next few hours.
Awesome. Eliana?
Thank you. Sorry if this isn't like the right time, but appreciate what Theodore said. And I know there's like a training for like students, like for the ones who aren't transfers, to learn more and like get stuff and hopefully have the background after that to be able to back up the great work you're doing. So if we want to put that, we want to talk about that and try and sign up for that. I feel like that could be really cool, and appreciate the great work that every single one of our council people and admin reps and people who got appointed have been doing. Also, everyone probably put out one last blast for these academic senate positions before they close tonight.
Awesome. Thank you. All right. Now into admin reports. Orlando.
Hello, everyone. Hope you're all doing good tonight. Just a few reminders. Currently, we are still re-registering organizations, and we're also registering new organizations. So if you know anyone that wants to start a new club, please send them to the SOUL website. But also, if you belong to a club, and don't forget to re-register your organizations, including your current offices. So please don't forget about that. Also, this Thursday, the Campus Programs Committee Regular Fund and the Campus Committee Committee's programs youth fund is due. Both of them are for on-campus programming, and the youth fund is for, as the name entails, youth programming on our campus. Okay, that's all I have for tonight.
Thank you, Jessica.
Hi, everyone. I don't really have many updates other than, I sent around some informational documents for hiring. So hopefully you got a chance to review. There's a pretty handy like hiring guide. So for any of the recent stipend appointments that were just made tonight, please distribute that handout as soon as possible, just so that we can get the paperwork done. And then the other quick thing I did want to mention, so we've been noticing as we've been having meetings with different programs, organizations, projects, is just, coming back to transitioning like back to in-person and on campus after being away for so long, and having these programs and events operate differently under COVID guidelines. We're now having to do a little bit of catch up with like, getting paperwork done and, getting things back on track. So one, I want to mention that just to say, if you're finding yourself and your projects in that state, don't be alarmed or worried. We'll help get it back on track. And then the other piece of that is just as you find these things that come up within your offices or your affiliated organizations, please don't hesitate to reach out, send them to Archie and I, so we can meet with them and figure out like, what are things that maybe have kind of fallen off our radar, just given that we weren't, operating as usual, and that now we're trying to get it back on track. So if anything like that comes up, just please reach out and let's get a meeting so we can kind of see, where we can help you navigate that. And then, last thing, welcome to Lori, your new admin rep. Excited to have her on board. So definitely, if Milan, you can add her into the agenda, and I'll make sure that she gets on our all council email listserv, so she'll start getting the council emails too. Thanks all.
Patty?
Oh, Patty's not here tonight.
Okay. Orlando, so you said that, what did she tell you again? That she's not coming to meetings anymore or something?
No. I didn't officially meet with Patty, but I did speak with her today, and I did ask her if she was going to make it tonight. She wasn't sure, but she did say that Jessica would be here to represent ASUCLA, and that she may not be able to make every single meeting. She's hoping to make meetings at least once a month.
Okay, and like, does she have like a new billet description or something? Like, did she get extra duties added to her billet or something?
That I don't know. I can't speak on her responsibilities or new ones. I guess we would need to speak to her about that.
Okay, because I'm just confused. Like, I haven't seen her in like 4 meetings, and haven't gotten an email, haven't gotten a phone call or anything like that. So I was just confused as to why she wasn't showing up to meetings and why she hasn't been like sent the email and reached out. And then when you said that she said she's going to come to one meeting a month, like, so who made that decision? Did she make that decision, or?
That, once again, I don't know. This is something I did speak to her today about, but as far as the details and context behind it all, I don't know. We would need to speak with her about that.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Well,
Carl, I can kind of add a little bit of context for that. So typically, on behalf of the ASUCLA, Patty's position, being the Director of Student Union Support Services, isn't a position that typically attends the meetings regularly, because my role provides that support, and as well as Archie. But Patty also directly advises and supports GSA. So her time is split between the two governments. And so, she was here a lot over summer because GSA doesn't meet during summer, and she was more available. So it's not necessarily that her scope of responsibilities have changed or that her support for council has changed. It's more so that it's not in her typical role to be at every meeting. But, you know, I update her and Archie updates her as needed. And then certainly where there's agenda items that she needs to be present for, she absolutely will. So I just want to clarify that so you don't feel like she, you know, just abandoned you or, you know, is not able to come anymore. It's more so just that her time is split between the two governments. And so now that we're back in the academic year and GSA is gearing back up, she won't be able to be present at every council meeting.
Okay, so what did this happen last year? Because I was on council last year. I remember seeing her at most meetings last year. So
yeah, so she was newly transitioning into this director role. Before her, it was Roy Champawat, which I don't know if many of you got to meet him before he retired, but he was basically the student union director, and he would come to council as needed, like mainly where there were major budget discussions or things of that nature. But day to day, you know, I'm the primary support person for council on behalf of ASUCLA. So it's kind of just like additional support and as needed, but definitely like, you know, I'm the one that's more present on a regular basis, and as well as Archie. So yeah, prior to her, it was Roy. But certainly where you feel like you have questions for her that you want me to forward or pass on, I meet with Patty regularly. And then, you know, if she like I said, if she needs to be here for a meeting because there is something that you want her to speak directly on, definitely let me know and I will update her so she can be here. And I keep her, you know, I touch base with her regularly and keep her informed of what's happening at the council meeting. So she's definitely still, you know, keeping current on council events. But typically we don't have, you know, all three of us here. It was more that she was just more available and transitioning new into this role and trying to, you know, step back into council and, you know, reacquaint herself with it. But for standard operating during the academic year, it will mostly be myself and Archie, unless as needed, Patty, and then also now Linda, who I'll try to make sure she can get to a meeting at some point in the near future to introduce herself so you all can meet her. But same thing with Linda as your SGA manager. You know, she would also attend these meetings as needed where you're talking about more budget related items or financial related items where you have specific questions that she would be more able to address. So wherever you need additional administrative folks from ASUCLA's side in attendance, definitely let me know and I'll make sure that they get a heads up to be at that meeting.
okay, thank you. I mean, yeah, I think this is just it's gonna have to be another offline meeting probably regarding this, because I got a lot of questions and I'm just kind of confused because like I say, last year I remember seeing her at every meeting, so I don't know what precedents, you know, is changing. I don't know, like, okay, but yeah, I'll just ask you offline about this, I guess. We can have a meeting about this. Is Steven here? Okay, Steven isn't here. Okay. I guess moving forward, Archie.
Yes, good afternoon, everyone. I don't have any announcements this evening. Just thank everyone for all their hard work and attention for this evening. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Archie. All right, so we don't have any old business, so we'll be hopping straight into new business. So first we have to reconfirm all summer appointments. How does that look like? Like Orlando, can you answer that? Like, how does that look like? Is it just like, hey, we reaffirm all the appointments made this summer or what?
Carl, I'm gonna have to pass that to Jessica. Jessica, can you help with this one? I'm a little unsure on this one.
Yeah, sorry, do you mind just repeating? My computer froze right when you asked your question, Carl, so I didn't hear.
Yeah, well, it says reconfirm all summer appointments. So how does that look like?
Oh, yes. So I can explain that more in detail. So per your USAC bylaws, any appointments you make over the summer, you do need to reconfirm once the academic year is back in session so that they're on the record during the academic year when majority of the student body is more present for council meetings and available. So basically you can reconfirm them in one single vote. You do need to vote on it, but basically you can just have a list of all of the appointments that were confirmed during the summer meetings. And then, someone can just basically go down that list and say like the name appointed to whatever committee. And then once you get through that full list, you can just, take a single vote to reconfirm all of these summer appointments at once. And then obviously pending, if you, if someone ended up not filling a role, or you needed to like reappoint, or like there's now, another position available, like that would be separate. But this is basically all of the appointments that were made over the summer who are continuing to fill the role during the academic year. You do need to reconfirm that they are still remaining in that appointment. So if you appointed anybody in spring, those ones are fine because that was during the academic year. So it's really just your summer meetings.
Okay, Naomi?
Your mic isn't working.
We can't hear you, Naomi.
Can you hear me now? Yeah, okay. So I was saying, I don't remember if Jeffrey falls into the list of summer or spring, but I think that's a concern to bring up because no one's heard from him. And I've tried, Carl's tried, Aliana's tried. I think everyone's about tried. So, and me and Madeline kind of discussed it at our last ARC meeting, but I don't know where he would fall on if that would be for summer or not, but yeah.
Yeah, I think he does fall under summer appointments. I think they were like our first summer appointments. Those positions for the ASUCLA BOD positions. Yeah, I haven't heard from him at all. Has anyone heard from Jeffrey at all? Who's tried to reach out to him?
I was talking to him about appointment stuff. But I reached out and he didn't respond about this position, but I can try again and see if he says anything.
Wait, so it was spring? Can we get a confirmation on that?
Jeffrey was appointed.
I remember. Yeah, because he had to go to that summer retreat.
Mhm.
Got you. That is true. Okay. So yeah, I guess that's not really. I mean, that's another point of discussion that we probably should have offline. But yeah, he's not one of those summer appointments, so that makes this way easier. Daniela?
This is kind of like a smaller question in comparison to that topic, but I know that I just reappointed Peters to the SIOC today. And the original appointment I had made and was approved by you all happened over the summer. So how would that work?
Jessica?
So the person appointed today is different than the person from the summer, but it's the same position?
It's a reappointment because that person wasn't able to actually fulfill the role.
Oh, okay. So you're appointing a new person in that role that you appointed today. Okay, so yeah, so then you would not need to include that former person in your list because you've now filled that role during the academic year, so it counts as an academic year appointment. So you're only listing the appointments over the summer that you confirmed who are still remaining in that role from summer and now going into fall quarter and the academic year, if that makes sense.
Yes, thank you.
Awesome.
All right. So Jessica, how do we administratively do? I just say, hey, like someone motion to reconfirm all summer appointments and then someone seconds, correct?
Yeah, so I think what would be easiest is if you have a list handy of all of the appointments that were made. And this way it can be like read into the minutes. That would be best. Oh, Sydney, I see you have your hand up. Go ahead if you want to answer.
Just for like the past 3 minutes, I've been like making a list by going through the old minutes. It's probably going to take me like 5 more minutes. So if you guys like want to move on to a discussion item and then come back to this when I have a list prepared, we can do that.
I'm sorry,
Okay,
I think I've
yeah,
also
we can do that.
worked on
Thank
the
you.
list. I
Wait.
think I'm almost done with it. Oh, sorry. I don't know.
Wait, Marlene, can you repeat yourself?
Oh yes. So I've also been working on the list. I'm sorry, I don't think we coordinated. but I think I'm almost done. So we might be able to just vote on this now. If I can
Okay.
chat.
Sydney?
Yes, you beat me. Thank you.
No worries. Thank you. Thank you for doing that. I like didn't realize that another person was doing that. Okay.
So yeah, what you can do is when you have that list, one person can just read off the name and the appointment, and then someone can motion to reconfirm all summer appointments for the academic year and second, and then go ahead and vote on that, and that will be good for the minutes.
All right, Milan, you can start reading them off whenever you want to. Oh, wait, Sydney, I see you had got your hand raised again.
No, sorry, I just forgot to take.
Okay, Milan, you can start reading them off.
Okay, I guess we can start with the finance committee chairperson. Wait, how do I like motion? Okay, well, Joshua for finance committee chairperson. I don't think we have to vote on that, right? Question mark. Okay.
I think you can
And
just
then-
say like the name of the person, the position name, and then like just keep going rapid fire.
Okay, perfect. Okay, Joshua Prentice for finance committee chairperson, Dakota Thomas Edison for budget review director, Avnita Chatterjee for campus programs committee, Ayana Waring for communities activities committee, Jasmine Zhang for communities activities committee, Trinity Vu for communities activities committee, Adam Thaw for judicial board associate justice, Kevin Kranza for student fee advisory position committee, and then Caitlin Haley Hernandez for student health advisory committee, Natalie Jane Benitz for student health advisory committee, Rebecca Haley Nelson for student health advisory committee, Lauren Heiberg for student health advisory committee, Persne DeVoe for student initiated outreach committee, and then Yashin Sharma for the committee on undergraduate admissions and relations with schools, Avinash Ramsway for undergraduate council, Tiara Widagama for faculty executive. Oh, sorry, Daniela, is there a question?
Sorry, Avinash actually resigned, so I guess we don't have to read his name
Oh.
off and include him.
Okay, thank you for telling me. I will edit that. But so Tiara Widagama for faculty executive committee for the College of Letters and Sciences, Sujana Sudhar for committee on academic freedom, Luis R. Garcia Chavez for committee on planning and budget, Vikas Sundar for committee on planning the budget, Fiona Yep for committee on research, Ariana Ayman for committee on diversity, equity, and inclusion, Anusha Antazari for General Education Governance Committee, Marilyn Pham for Legislative Assembly, Nalaya Kanari for OSAC Chairperson, Tyler Wong for TGIF Representative, Grace Leary for TGIF Representative, Mia Rosati for TGIF, for TGIF Representative, Ethan Choi for TGIF Representative, Amethyst Phillips for USAC Committee on Disability, Himaja Vendidani, sorry if I'm butchering these names, I'm so sorry, for Executive Board, Lucy Yen for Vice Vicom Chair, and is there anyone else? Ashley Cow for Campus Retention Committee, Madeline Zhang for Campus Sustainability Committee, Tatum Delaney for Campus Sustainability Committee, Stacy Bang for John Wooden Center Board of Governors, Stacy Bang again for Student Activities Center Board of Governors, Jeff Van for Transportation Services Advisory Board, Ryan Factora for Campus Retention Committee, Kavaya Kachuragada for Drug-Free Schools Committee, and that should be all of our appointments. I am super sorry if anyone was listening, I butchered their name. I really apologize. I'm very bad with pronouncing names.
You did way better than I would have did, so that's good. All right. Okay, can we get a motion to reconfirm all those summer appointments?
I move to reconfirm all of the summer appointments.
Second.
Wait, who's that?
It was Juan. Juan seconded.
Okay. All right. Sarah motions, 1 second. All in favor, please raise your hand. All right. By a vote of 11 to 0, the motion passes and all summer appointments are reconfirmed. Okay, now moving into SFS guidelines. Juan, you have the floor.
Perfect. So I believe, oh, okay. So this is the SFS guidelines are updated annually for the Community Service Commission. If you open up the document, I will, just to make this super brief, the purpose of SFS is to provide UCLA undergraduate students affiliated with a service project on campus and UCLA student organizations that are categorized as community service the opportunity to pursue their service initiatives. The SFS provides funding for tickets, fees, and food for volunteers, volunteer appreciation and retention, national organization dues, supplies, transportation, and conferences. Priority will be given to Tier 1 line items over Tier 2 line items. The Community Service Commission Fund Committee reserves the right to alter the requirements of the application at any time. The notice with notice to all recipients. So these guidelines are, like I said, are updated annually. This year, the only updates that we have was we changed the deadlines for applying for SFS funding. No content was changed, I believe, for this year's guidelines.
Okay, awesome. Thank you. And we do have to vote on that to confirm. Okay, awesome. All right. Are there any questions or concerns from any council members? If not, can we get a motion to confirm the SFS guidelines for this year?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, I move to confirm the SFS guidelines for the 2022-23 fiscal year.
I second.
Okay, Anna motions, Leona seconds. All in favor, please raise your hand. Okay, all right, and by a vote of 11 to 0, the motion passes and SFS guidelines are approved for this year. Great job on that one. All right. Next up is our discussion topic for an atrocity that happened. I just kind of wanted to, I didn't really want to have the, big conversation here because I'm in the works with a lot of student organizations that are kind of leading the front for this. And so I didn't really want to step on their toes or anything, but I just wanted to acknowledge that, we see this. I was tagged, well, the UCLA president's Instagram account was tagged in a letter from, let's see, I'm gonna get the name of this group right. So it was a letter addressing Chancellor Block and just student government in general. The Iranian student group at UCLA. So I just wanted to acknowledge that letter. My office is currently scheduling meetings with the president of the organization and some reps so that we can kind of figure out the next steps to go forward, especially in regards to some of the specifics that they asked in their letter. So, just got to be there for them at this time. This is a, very horrible incident that happened. But yeah, if any other council members kind of want to help out with this initiative or these initiatives that are probably going to be set out in the next couple of days, please reach out. I'll also get you in contact with the president of the group. But yeah, just wanted to bring that up so everyone's tracking that and kind of can help out where they can. So are there any questions or comments or concerns regarding this? Sarah?
I just wanted to echo what Carl said, sort of thing. There are a lot of student groups that are like specifically ISG that's getting involved with this. So if you guys want to help out, you are more than welcome to. But yeah, also just like, let's keep our minds with, or like, however, whatever, like spiritual thing or just like political thing that you can do to help the people of Iran right now. It is a really tough time over there.
You're muted.
Thank you, Naomi. If there aren't any other questions, concerns, or comments, I adjourn this meeting at 9:37 p.m. Awesome. All right. Thank you, everyone, for coming.
Great work, everybody. Good to be with you.
Thanks. Bye, everyone.
Thank
All right.
you.
Bye, y'all.
Appreciate you.
Milan, I have the end webinar button on mine.
Okay, yeah,
do
I was
you
confused. I did not have it.
yeah, I just saw that. I think maybe I accidentally got shifted to host. So I can just go ahead and end it, or do you want me to put host back to you so you
Oh
can
no,
stop the
feel free
live
to
stream?
end it.